I tell you last year? Oh, sure, yeah, I'll come down.
Yeah, you know, everybody has their time. It takes a little while. Thank you for being here with us. I am the Oracle of Apollo, Dominique Rivera, Reiki Master, Integrated Energy Therapy Master, and today we have Patti here. Allowed us to film this Reiki session for your benefit, for the education of everybody out there in YouTube world. So, Patti, what brings you in today?
I'm gonna try Reiki for the first time.
So you have had no energy work at all ever?
No, not that I'm aware.
And have you ever worked with any kind of spiritual tools? Tarot cards, incenses, gotten a reading done, anything like that before?
Yes, tarot cards, runes, and just general collection of stones for trying to vibrate the house right.
So you work with crystals?
Try to.
Okay. So you're not unfamiliar to the world of energy. It's just the first time you're receiving Reiki as a hands-on treatment, or just Reiki in general?
Both, I would say.
Okay. And so what brings you in today?
We've been going through a lot of changes at the home front. My husband just recently went through a job change, and I feel very stuck, and I think I've described this to you before. It's just I've been stuck for a couple of years now, and I was always curious about how energy worked, if we could like free some stuck energy to kind of help move us more forward.
That does make sense. And yes, moving the energy through will help you have the sense of freedom and liberation and allow yourself to move forward, because the barriers and the blocks that have been created are kind of dissolved, and that's what the goal is today. So all right, I think I have enough, so we can get started. Video is now on. Okay, so what I'm gonna be doing today is a Reiki session, and you're gonna feel my hands and patience. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna find where your blockages are, because let's say if you had a pain in your hip, this might not be the origin, even though the pain is in the hip. It might be that toe on the right foot. So we have to find the channels and see where they're miscommunicating, and then clear those channels. You're gonna hear me breathing autonomously, so you might hear like deep breaths. Understand that when I'm doing those breaths, what I'm doing is kind of like when you get a water and put it through the water filter. Those little bubbles that come up to make space for the water to come in is what's happening, and that's the sound that you might hear me making. So know if it's a larger sound, it's a bigger shift. Okay. I'm gonna be touching you in your chakra centers. Down here, you might feel sometimes I'm not touching you at all, because I'll find something and it might be in the human energy field, so I'll have to work above the body to facilitate the movement better. When things come down too close to the physical body that has been sitting there too long, it becomes so dense, it takes too long to move it out. So we have to work at the top where it's looser, and then we can be able to move it out better. And then we'll talk about detoxing afterwards. Any questions or concerns for me? Do you have any places on you, maybe a new tattoo or a new surgery or something painful that if I touched yours, like, no, it hurts there?
No, I have no pain.
Okay, fine, that's perfect. So I'm gonna start off by calling in your guides, ascended masters, and archangels, and all you have to do is close your eyes, and when I'm to have you and say, okay, you can wake back up now. But for this, you wanna stay introspective. You want to stay in your breathing. If you feel like you start going down your to-do list, take a big breath and focus on the belly, and let that bring you back to where you are. You don't want to label anything, and you want to let go of all expectations, because expectations is what kind of gets us tripped up. So we just want to be in a state of surrender. You're here. There's nothing to worry about. Everything that's going to be working through you is going to be for your highest and greatest good. So we just be in a state of allowing. So you can close your eyes now. I'm just going to turn on a little bit of sage just to help me along, clearing you. I call upon the angels, ascended masters, and the Reiki masters, Usui, Takara, and Hayashi, guide, direct, surround, and protect us. Let this healing be for Patti's highest and greatest good, and her highest individual greatest healing. So be it. And you'll hear me narrate, and you don't have to respond, but if you feel If there's something you want to share, a pain, a memory, or anything like that, you can. If you have to get up and go to the bathroom, or you're feeling anything in your body, let me know what it is. So the heat's turning on in my hands now, and that's coming out of the palm chakras. It is going into her crown. This is a great place to start a session because it helps you open all of the spine up. That's the connection to the nervous central system and where the chakras are aligned with. And she's allowing the energy to come in, which is fantastic. And I feel like this is going to be a really hot session today. In the third eye, there's quite a bit of pressure and a little bit of pain. This is associated in the heart space, so there's a lot of worry connected to emotions here. And I know this because as I'm touching the crown chakra, and the energy is moving into the third eye like water, I feel the connection open, like a little dam being burst open right from the heart, and it goes in a direct line to your third eye. Those are the autonomous sounds of the shifting. And if you get burpy too, just let it go. It does happen sometimes. So this is shifting here. And we're just gonna stay here a few more moments until I feel like this area is cool. I would say it's like a third of the way there. Okay, this is full. Now we're on the side of the ears. This is our communication areas. And not just our communication, the way we speak, but also the way we interpret, the way information comes to us, and how that makes us feel receiving it. And I also have this connection to the heart space, and this part right here feels a little bit like anxiety to me. When I feel anxiety here, it's usually hard for a person to interpret strong emotional discussions. So someone very deeply expressing themselves could make anxiety be triggered in this area. Okay, that's shifting. Oh. Alright, now we're gonna go to the throat, and you might notice yourself hard swallowing, and that's normal as the blocks come up. And I'm behind her throat right now. Behind the throat is the area of threats in the body, but also past communications. You can tuck them under your hips if you want.
Thank you.
There's one hard swallow. And if at any point you feel like your heart is starting to flutter or having faster heart rate, that's the expansion. So you're just gonna breathe into that. It's not anxiety, it's the expansion. Okay, you're doing good, you're clearing.
I think I'm really bad at soda at this point.
Mm. Good. And I want you to visualize a brick wall in front of you, and it surrounds you 360 degrees, but the top is open, so you're almost in a cylinder of bricks. I want you to start knocking these bricks down one by one, row by row, and you can only do one at a time. And each brick that you remove is gonna allow more light in. Turn your head to the left for me. Okay, just gonna move something out of here. A little pressure, there's tension here. So I am placing my hands on her. Tense point is right there. And I'm just gonna rub it. I'm not really massaging it. It's more like a shuffle. Like a movement, a rocking to move the energy out of here. Oof. And this is actually correlated to your whole right shoulder, right arm. A lot of tension in here. These are our shoulds. The shoulders are our shoulds. The right side is what we think we should be doing. Our actions, what we believe our actions should or shouldn't be. And all I'm doing is sweeping above in her aura, in the first layer, the physical layer, while my other hand, my receptive hand, is in her, behind her neck. And this is all shifting. I'm gonna just swipe her down and move the energy down her arms. This doesn't have to be an aggressive swipe, it can just be very lightly. Oof. Oof. And there's a lot of tension here. When we can't make decisions or we have too many options, this is really effective. It could even become so heavy that you start tilting to the one side. Okay. All right, now that we have a nice clear channel, I'm gonna go ahead and see where the main blocks are. Okay, so I'm coming already to the heart space. The heart space is blocked, and we know this because if you actually physically watch my hand, just watch my hand. I'll close my eyes so you guys don't think I'm like making this up. Right here it starts, and then it gets more tingly, more tingly, more tingly, way more tingly here. So this is right above the heart space, and I did that with my eyes closed to show you that you don't have to have your eyes open for this. However, when you're working above the women's chest or breast area, you want to make sure that your hand's not, landing where it shouldn't. So we just hover. So I don't always like to close my eyes when I'm working in this area because I don't want to accidentally pump anybody. This is clearing. This feels very weak to me. So I'm going to go ahead and now check its vitality. And it's very, 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 very weak. When we have a weak aura, a weak chakra in the heart space, it's usually an indication that somebody gives so very much of themselves. It's just giving of self in excess, too much. You want to be there for everybody. So it depletes us. And it's good that your heart is continuing to fill up and continue to break those barriers down and those walls. Take a big breath for me. A big, big breath. Feel the whole belly and the lungs. And then nice big exhale. And make a sound when you exhale on this next one. Big, big, big. Good. You're moving that energy now. Your breath itself is moving energy. So we're coming down to solar plexus. A lot of hot energy coming in here. This is our willpower center. I'm just gonna move this a little bit because it just feels a little congested. And again, I'm not massaging. It's kind of like a rocking, very gentle rocking. actually leading me to the lumbar. Come on this side, you guys can see my hands better.
You need to move?
Nope, you're perfect. So I'm putting my hand sandwich kind of like right above her navel area and right beneath in the lumbar. And we're gonna transfer energy here. And it's building very easily here. A lot of tightness in this area. And I feel a lot of congestion. This would definitely cause discomfort. Oh, and now this is filled, it's leading me back to sciatica on the opposite side. And when I say it's leading me back, it's what's happening is as one area fills up, and I'll describe this as a cup filled with water. You notice the water is filled. It tends to pour over into another area. And so my body is telling me it's here because I'm feeling what she's feeling right now. Well, what's inside of her, even if she's not conscious or aware of it. And I'm doing that little rocking again over here on the right side, around the adrenals, or kidneys rather. And there's a little bit of pressure. I can feel the pressure coming down directly on both sides right here. Like if the kidneys are pretty full and congested. So I'm gonna go ahead and swipe this down. And I'm just gonna notice, I'm gonna rescan and then see what's moved. So my hand's tingling now. And now it's getting harder to move it. As you see, my hand slows down. It comes down to the solar plexus area and the sacral area. So I'm just gonna place my hands here because this is congested. And as I'm working that energy here, I'm gonna take and just check. Oh. And this all feels lethargic. So there should be some kind of resistance pushing my hand back here, but there isn't. I'm kind of just going down through the chakra very easily and smoothly. So that tells me that there's no energy in this chakra. And this is our pleasure center. It's absorbing energy now. See me going through these layers with my hands, and that's because we're going through spiritual, mental, emotional, and then finally this physical layer. And I'm trying to find where the association to the blockage is at, what layer. So right here, hers is in the emotional layer. So we're gonna go ahead and tackle that right there in the auric energy field. So you see me pulling my hands off. I'm just gonna address that exact nodule. And I call it a nodule because it feels like a ball when you find it. Or a bump in the energy field. Clear that out. This is actually giving me pain in my right temple, so I keep that in my mind, knowing that this is attributed and pretty much, and nowhere in the sacral, but the stomach area. Our stomach is the seat to our psychic gut feelings, our instincts. And so what I tend to see is if the stomach is distorted or dysfunctional, the mind is also in dysfunction, on the dysfunctional side of that chakra as well, because they're in cahoots. Okay. So this is still tight here. So let's work with this tightness, and then we're gonna ground her afterwards. this is starting to trickle open, and there's a little tiny bit of resistance right here, of energy pushing out, but not to my satisfaction. So we're gonna go ahead and enlarge this area, and I'm gonna clean it as I go. Still quite tight, so we can find where the block is at. All right, so it's all the way up here. Actually see a little ball, like with my eyes, floating there. And you'll see me keep rescanning because I'm checking to see if it's completely moved out. So it's elevated a little. We're gonna go ahead and just amplify the amount of energy that is coursing through here. Okay, checking it again. It's a little higher. So that's opening. We're gonna let that sit. It takes a little while for them to build. And then if you see my hand again, right here, there's like a little wall. Ooh. Take a breath in for me, real big breath. Visualize you sending it all the way down to right here. All light and channels opening, and exhale, big sound, ocean breath. Okay, that opened a lot. So this is open, it's like all the way up here compared to this is opening now, but it's still right around here. I can feel the buildup. If you watch my hand, this is what it feels like. Like it's like filling up. All right, so we're gonna leave that alone because that's open and beautiful and large, and you're gonna see people close down chakras when they're overly open because they're using too much energy. But when you close a chakra, you're limiting the capacity of what it could potentially be, because even though something can be too open, it can be functional and not on the dysfunctional side of the chakra. So we're gonna leave that open so it can trickle upward, since the Kundalini rises down to up from our root chakra. And we're gonna ground her now, and you guys might not see me because I'm off frame, but I'm gonna be on her ankles. And I'll leave one hand on the knee so you guys can kind of see that I'm here. I'm gonna pull down all the energy now So Patty, send me everything you no longer need, no longer serves you. This doesn't have to have a label. Just breathe into it and send anything down that no longer serves you, consciously or subconsciously. And as she's sending down energy, I feel my temples and my head hurt, and I feel my heart anxiety again, the fluttering. I feel the pain in the right kidney that was congested earlier, moving down, and trickles down the whole head like little sparkles, kind of cleansing and washing and reactivating. So I'm keep pulling everything down. In the process of grounding her, we're connecting her to the material plane. This way she doesn't come back feeling too high, which can be a side effect, a pleasurable side effect, but a side effect nonetheless. Just making her ability to withhold more energy by doing this. And now that she's nice and fluffed and big, I'm gonna go ahead and find how big she is, and then I'm gonna enclose her in her own new energy that she has now received.
And this is gonna hold this energy in longer and continue to clear as we keep working. So I basically am folding her aura within itself. And as I get down to this area again, I get that pressure in the head once more. So that's still working its way through. And now that she's nice and folded, we're gonna go ahead and fill her up now with light energy.
Stand this way because sometimes you guys can see the heat coming out of my hands or aura. And right now it feels like as I'm adding in, it feels like my hand's on a track. And this one still needs more work. This one still needs more work. And light is just being emanated into every part of this. And it's not surprising that these areas would need additional work, especially when a person is getting energy work the first time. That's when they're most dense. And then after some work, things fall into place. I'm gonna unveil you. Alright, so now we just have a little discussion on what you feel like you received or what you feel like was happening inside of you. So I'll give you some prompt questions. Did you feel any heat or cold? Heat. Where did you feel heat?
Here, and here, and I did feel it on the back, but it was more so on this side.
Okay, so on the other side, or reflected side. And did you feel any heat coming out of my hands?
Yeah, you were over here and I could feel a wave.
A wave. Okay, good. Did you see any colors?
purples and creams that would change from a, it's not quite a pink, but you know how it gets that faded violet that almost is like a pink?
Yeah.
So it was like a purple to that pink, and then it would go to a cream, and then occasionally I have some green come up.
Okay. And did any emotions come to your attention? Anger, happy, sad, memory?
No memories. I would say there were points of sadness, and then points of concern, because I could hear you narrating, and you're like, oh, the side of my head hurts, and I'm like, oh, good grief.
I'm killing her! No.
No, it's actually really interesting, because when you started to touch the head, sometimes I get like a headache on this side, and it's very, I don't actually talk about it much because I've been used to it for years, but it sits in the temple, and it's like, it almost feels like this whole side gets slow,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
And the fact that you were describing that pain was something I didn't expect.
Okay. Was there any other places that you noticed any pain rising as you were going through those areas?
When you started to work on the back.
The back had a lot of pain.
Well, I don't feel it so much anymore, but after the birth of my son, I have apparently lower back arthritis. And after the birth of my son, that sacral joint, because of the arthritis, would swell. And one thing it would do, it would hitch up the right side, I think. And my legs were, one was shorter than the other. And it didn't pinch the sciatic, but it would pinch like a sister to the sciatic that would cause weakness down this leg over the top of and the foot. So when it was first happening, I used to feel that I couldn't trust this leg at all. And then I went to a chiropractor, and I felt a lot better about knowing that, like, if it hurts, it's okay. It's still structurally sound. Just well, it felt like your hip was gonna fall out.
Oh, man.
So that was something that I didn't think would necessarily pop up, but it did, and you did feel it like all in the back.
And last question. Some people feel this and some people don't. Presence from other hands on you, or presence in the room.
I don't necessarily feel more hands, but it did feel like when you were talking about the enveloping, it did feel like a bubble. And at that point in the time, it did feel like everything was tingly, like it was almost like floating.
Nice, very nice. When I went to your lumbar, it felt like to me, your explanation's perfect, but it felt like to me, of what I've seen, because I have my point of references, right?
Yeah.
There's these women who get BBL, which is like the butts, the bigger butts, and they get this S curve, a shelf butt. And you know what shelf butt is?
I've heard of it.
So it comes out, it protrudes out from the back, but it's a big protrusion. And what that does, it misaligns the back. And when I went down your back, that's what it felt like. It felt like I had an S curve, something that was pushing out that shouldn't have been pushing out. And now that you described it to me about the arthritis, it made sense. Because it felt like there was a gap and then a pushing out. So like an S, that's why I described it like that. Like a gap that needed energy, and then that was pushing out from congestion. So we were able to tackle, it sounds like, quite some things that you had in your past that are still currently somatically inside of you. And somatically is like our feelings of it. Our memory, our cellular memory is different from our mental memory, and our bodies withhold information much more differently than we actually think. There's memory in there. So overall, from coming in to now, what would you say your number was coming in, and what would you say your number is going out? You can gauge pain, relaxation, or overall contentment. However you want to gauge it.
I didn't think of a number scale, so
1 being the least best, and 10 being pretty good.
I would say it probably came in, I had a good last couple days, so I'd say I would call it about a 6, because it kind of went up. I would say about a 9.
Good. So we went up a few points.
Yeah.
And is there any questions that you have for me?
Not at this point in time.
All right, so here on forward, you're gonna go home, you're gonna drink water, because the water is gonna help the electricity move in the body. And I know that sounds like something so simplistic, it's easily forgotten. You have new energy in your body. Keep it in there. Drink the water.
We actually got 2 waters.
Okay, good. So normal things that could happen leaving here. You can have more pain later, or have triggers of pain from the past in your body coming up. But understand, this is kind of like a detox now. So we basically went in there, splashed around in all your dirty water, all the dirt from the bottom came up to the surface and now it has to come out. So that the drinking of the water is going to help facilitate the movement of that old stagnant energy. But if you start to feel over emotional, your thoughts start going a little excessive, just be kind to them and be kind to yourself and acknowledge, okay, this is the detox oracle was talking about. Be sweet to yourself, be kind to yourself, and if you have to separate yourself from the group, maybe you're just overwhelmed by being there, if you have to separate yourself from the group, do so and just sit with it until you can healthily release it. You don't want to just be like, oh, no, this is not the time for that. I can't be sad right now. I'm cooking dinner. You have to acknowledge it and make time for it. And that way it can move out so it's done.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for being here and letting me do this. And thank you guys for joining. And I'll see you next time.